there must be method to the madness, right?
He's got a beautiful, inciting story that talks about the industry and how we got here. You gotta get
it's really a whole lot of madness, I guess, more than anything. So to kind of wind back or take you back a moment in time. So first, I was inspired by a book by John Wood, Leaving Microsoft to Change the World, and that was really a moment where I thought, okay, this is someone who had it all, or what we call, success, and had found out when he was visiting Nepal that, there's some people that are in real need, and out of that, he just formed a charity. We've got a very active bird. I don't know if you can hear it outside, but
yes, wonderful.
Just loving us, and it makes us feel like we're actually in nature. And
it's calling to the New York birds.
Yeah, the New York birds.
What is a bird? What is a bird? I don't know.
We call them pigeons.
Well, yeah. So I think the wonderful thing about that was that was like a little starter for me, in the same way that a lot of films or books inspire other people to want to make a difference in their own life, whether it's big or small. But after that, years went by, and I had some success in the kind of non-scripted reality sector. I wasn't scripted back in past, but over the course of the last 8 years, I had a deal with ITV Studios and all the blah blah blahs that go in between, and setting up projects at Discovery or Animal Planet. But the bottom line to all this is I felt empty because the projects that I really cared about weren't able to get through. And I'll give you an example, and it's entertainment. Things have to entertain if you're going to put it out in the entertainment sector. But my mom had called me and said, hey, Andy, you should really be looking at a guy named Harmon Parker. Reach out to him. When she was in Africa, she learned about this man who was building bridges in Africa. And I thought, oh, great. So I just literally reached out, picked up the phone, got in touch with him, and it just so happened that he was in Los Angeles that week. I mean, he normally lives in Kenya, Africa. So it was like, wow, this is wild. So come on down to our studio, and let's just sit and chat. And so we were talking, and as we were talking, I said, you know what, let's not just sit and chat. Let's go out to, we have this place in LA, it's called Lake Balboa, and on the backside of that, there's this kind of area that almost looks like Africa, to be honest with you. So in our world, we can do these little cheats. He had a lot of footage from his charity, and that charitable, the footage that he had to support his charity, and see what I meant by the planes. Sometimes you have to talk a little louder, but the footage that he had was really compelling, and I thought, you know what, if I can just frame it up right and interview him out in the field and put this together, I could go out and pitch it to some of the standard places that you would go. And those standard places back in that time was Discovery, Nat Geo, Animal Planet. And the crux of this was, here's a man that for the better years of his life has been building bridges in Africa. And the reason why that came about was when he was younger, he was out visiting a friend in Kenya, and he watched a woman try to get across the river, because rivers are barriers in Africa, and he watched her get literally mauled by a hippo. Oh my God. And probably just horrifying. It's horrifying to hear, and then what it meant to him to actually see that up close and personal. And from that day on, he decided he would build bridges in Africa.
Wow.
And, I've looked at my life sometimes, and I'm certainly have, I'm a giving person, but I look at it sometimes as selfish, like, oh, I got to do this, or I got to drive that, or I got to get the next film or the next television show. And sometimes it's not really something that drives that purpose in your heart. So when I heard this story, I thought, okay, I got to do something about this. Let me tee this up and see if we can do a show around it. Because you kind of also, from an entertainment standpoint, you got this perfect beginning, middle, and end. You have problems that exist in a village. Kids can't get to school, or it takes 3 to 4 miles to just get to school, or water, or etc. To get around these rivers. And there's an engineering feat that comes. Harmon and his team come in, but more than anything, it's not them coming in to save the day. they galvanize the village and they make it a common cause where everyone has a stake in this.
Stakeholder engagement.
Yeah, in this build. So, and he's done over 50 of them. So that, it's pretty incredible. And so in the middle of it, you have this engineering feat and you're building in Africa, so things are bound to go wrong or be challenging. But at the end of every celebration, there's this beautiful spirit lifted up of the village people that changes their lives completely. And so I took it out to the marketplace, had all the standard pitches, and they said, wow, I really like this. But the feedback from multiple execs was, it feels too earnest. And so from that, from that moment on, I thought, okay, I got to go build the Earnest Network then. And so that's kind of what started as this journey that has really morphed into the Brave Road, which has, morphed from, hey, I want to do projects for good, that is a little more, it's more deep than that now. It's like, I not only want to do projects for good, I want to enact change, and I want to build collaborations and actions around, these inciting incidents, which are film that everyone is, everyone loves storytelling, everyone likes to be entertained. So why can't we flip that switch and make it more about exposing and making a difference in the most challenging problems in the world?
In that respect, I think it ties in with what I call change communication so much. And I want to synthesize a little bit of your storytelling, right?